She didn't scream, she didn't threaten, and she didn't walk away first. Instead, she did something far colder. She stopped looking at him like he was a man she admired. That shift is quiet but brutal. One day, her tone softens into indifference, her laughter feels forced, and the way her eyes used to light up when he entered the room is replaced with a dull glance, as if his presence no longer carried weight. A woman may still say the words "I love you," but without respect those words are hollow. And for a man there is nothing more suffocating than lying beside someone who no longer sees him as worthy of admiration. Respect is the ground of intimacy, the invisible current that gives love its shape. Without it, gestures become mechanical, intimacy becomes an obligation, and companionship begins to rot from the inside out. Many men ignore this truth. They cling to comfort, convincing themselves that if they just try harder, give more, or bend further, she will admire them again. But respect is not earned by sacrifice. It is not won by apology. The harder he works to convince her, the more she feels what she cannot say out loud, that he is no longer the man she believed him to be. This is why disrespect rarely begins with chaos. It begins with subtle erosion. A small insult delivered as a joke, a dismissive glance when he shares his opinion, a hidden contempt for the way he carries himself. Each moment is small enough to dismiss, but together they build into a silent verdict. He is no longer someone she looks up to. And once that verdict is passed, the relationship becomes a stage play. She stays, he stays, but the essence is gone. For a man, the danger lies in denial. He feels the distance, but he buries it under distraction, hoping the warmth will return. Yet the longer he stays in a place where respect has died, the more he loses himself. What begins as patience becomes passivity. What begins as love becomes quiet humiliation. And when a man tolerates that humiliation, he does not just lose her respect, he loses his own. This is the reality too many men discover too late. Without respect, love is already dead. What remains is not intimacy, but performance. Not closeness, but routine. A man who ignores this truth will one day wake up and realize he was never truly chosen. He was only tolerated. And nothing crushes the soul of a man more than being tolerated in the place where he once wanted to be admired. It doesn't begin with open rejection, but with subtle gestures that most men are too numb to notice. The way her voice shifts when she corrects him in front of others, the way she rolls her eyes when he speaks, the way admiration is replaced by a quiet undertone of mockery that cuts deeper than words ever could. A man who pays attention will recognize these signs not as random moods, but as warnings that respect is fading. And once it slips away, the relationship has already begun to collapse. The loss of respect is rarely loud. It reveals itself in the pauses between her words, in the way she interrupts his sentences, in the absence of curiosity about his thoughts. Once she would lean in when he spoke, her body turned toward him as though the world outside didn't exist. Now she scrolls through her phone while he talks, offering only a distracted nod. These are not accidents. They are signals of where her mind has gone, signals of how little authority his presence now holds in her world. The tragedy is that many men excuse these signs. They tell themselves she is stressed, that she is tired, that it will pass. But disrespect does not pass, it grows. Every time he ignores the eye roll, the dismissive laugh, the cutting remark, he trains her to believe he will tolerate it. And the more a man tolerates contempt, the more it multiplies. What was once a small sign becomes a habit, and what was once a habit becomes the permanent tone of the relationship. Even in private, the difference is stark. Intimacy shifts from connection to obligation. Where she once gave herself freely, she now withholds, measuring out affection in fragments, if at all. When respect dies, desire dies with it. No amount of gifts, apologies, or promises can awaken attraction in a woman who no longer sees her partner as a man worth admiring. She may stay, but only out of convenience, routine, or fear of being alone. For him, this is a prison disguised as love. The most dangerous sign of all is not anger, but indifference. Anger still means she feels something, still means there is fire to fight through. But indifference, the quiet shrug, the blank expression, the lack of reaction when he asserts himself, is the clearest evidence that she has detached. Indifference is the death of respect, and when that moment arrives, the man must see it for what it is, the point of no return. If he ignores it, he will not only lose her, he will lose the part of himself that knows he deserves more. But if he sees it clearly, and refuses to accept a life where he is belittled, he opens the door to something greater, the strength to walk away before contempt destroys him completely. The cruelest trap for a man is believing that staying will somehow fix what has already died. That if he just loves harder, gives more or waits long enough, respect will magically return. But staying in a place where respect is gone does not heal the wound, it deepens it. Every day he remains in that space, he trains both her and himself to believe that he is willing to live without the very thing that defines a man: dignity. What begins as patience soon twists into weakness. She notices it even if he doesn't. The longer he tolerates disrespect, the more she sees him as powerless to act. What once might have been a spark of admiration becomes a permanent stamp of disappointment. And disappointment is not neutral. It grows into contempt. The moment she realizes he will not walk away, that he would rather accept humiliation than risk being alone, she no longer views him as a partner. She views him as a man she can control. Control kills desire. No woman feels drawn to the man she can bend at will, no matter how much he provides or how deeply he insists he loves her. In fact, the more he clings, the more her contempt sharpens, because every act of desperation only proves her suspicion that he is no longer the man she once respected. This is why the men who stay, hoping to rebuild admiration, almost never succeed. Because by staying they confirm exactly what destroyed the relationship in the first place. And yet many men convince themselves that leaving is the real failure. They confuse endurance with strength, as if lasting longer in a loveless, respectless bond is proof of masculinity. But true strength is not in endurance, it is in boundaries. To endure disrespect is not power, it is surrender. The longer he endures, the more he erodes his own self-image until the man who once walked with certainty can barely look himself in the mirror. Worse still, staying poisons everything outside the relationship. His work suffers, his friendships fade, his body weakens under the weight of stress. He tells himself he is holding the relationship together. But in reality, the relationship is hollow, and the cost of staying is the slow destruction of his spirit. Men who choose this path often look back years later, realizing that the person they became in that relationship is not the man they wanted to be. The truth is simple but harsh. Staying never restores respect. It only buries a man under layers of regret. If he truly values himself, if he truly believes in the worth of his own life, he cannot remain in a place where he is no longer respected. To stay is to die slowly. To leave is to finally breathe again. Walking away is not about abandoning love, nor is it about punishing her. It is about refusing to abandon yourself. The courage to leave begins when a man realizes that the greatest betrayal is not her loss of respect, but his own willingness to live without it. To stay would be easier. To leave demands pain, silence, and the weight of solitude. But strength is not forged in ease. It is proven in the decision to walk into uncertainty rather than remain chained to humiliation. The world teaches men to fight for everything. To fight for career, to fight for family, to fight for relationships. But there are battles that cannot be won by fighting harder, and this is one of them. Respect cannot be begged back, nor can it be traded for comfort. Once it is gone, the only path left that preserves a man's dignity is the door he is afraid to open. That door is called walking away. Most men hesitate at the threshold. They imagine the emptiness of nights alone, the questions from friends, the silence where laughter once lived. Fear grips them, whispering that leaving is loss, that leaving means failure. Yet the truth is the opposite. Leaving is not failure. Leaving is proof that he refuses to be a man diminished by contempt. To walk away is to declare, even without words, I value myself too much to remain where I am unseen. And when a man chooses that path, something changes within him. The fear that once held him hostage becomes fuel. The loneliness that once seemed unbearable becomes clarity. He discovers that solitude, far from being a punishment, is the soil where self-respect grows again. Only in leaving does he remember who he was before the slow erosion of mockery and dismissal. Only in leaving does he reclaim the strength that was buried under compromise. This act does not go unnoticed. She may not admit it, but the very moment he leaves with calm resolve, she feels the weight of what she destroyed. For the first time, she cannot bend him. For the first time, he chose dignity over her approval. And whether she hates him or misses him, she cannot deny it. He became untouchable the moment he walked away without regret. The courage to leave is not about winning or losing a relationship. It is about refusing to lose yourself. Every man must face this crossroad, remain in comfort and die slowly, or walk into solitude and be reborn. And those who choose to walk away discover something far greater than love from another person. They discover the unshakable respect that comes only from within. When he finally walked away, the silence that followed did not crush him, it rebuilt him. At first it felt strange, the absence of her voice, the empty space where her presence once filled the room. But slowly that silence became something else, a mirror that reflected back the man he had almost forgotten. Without her constant tests, without the quiet erosion of his confidence, he began to feel what strength really meant again. The transformation after leaving is not about finding someone new or proving a point. It is about returning to the ground of self-respect. A man who chooses solitude over contempt discovers that solitude is not emptiness, it is clarity. The noise of her dismissals is gone, the weight of her disapproval is gone, and in that clearing, he finally hears his own voice again. What he once mistook for loneliness now feels like freedom, because freedom is nothing more than the absence of chains. He wakes differently. His shoulders no longer slump under the invisible burden of trying to earn back what had already died. His thoughts sharpen, his ambition returns. Even his body begins to carry itself with quiet confidence, not because someone else validates him, but because he has learned the rarest lesson, that respect starts within. The man who respects himself cannot be broken by a woman who does not. In time, this transformation becomes visible to others. Friends notice it in his eyes, in the steadiness of his voice. Strangers notice it in the way he moves through a room, no longer searching for approval, no longer performing softness to keep peace. Women notice it too, not because he tries to be noticed, but because indifference and strength are far more magnetic than neediness ever was. The paradox is cruel but true. Only when he no longer chases respect does he begin to naturally attract it again, what she could not give him. Life now returns in another form, not always as a new relationship, not always as romance, but as something deeper, the rediscovery of his own worth. And when a man rediscovers that, he becomes dangerous in the best way. Dangerous because he no longer compromises his dignity to keep anyone beside him. Dangerous because he would rather stand alone in silence than live another day in the shadow of contempt. The transformation is simple but profound. He stopped needing respect from others to feel whole, and in doing so, he became whole. He walked away from her without regret, but more importantly, he walked back toward himself. And that is the kind of return no one can take from him. Respect is the currency of love, and once it is spent, the account is empty. A woman may still remain by a man's side. She may still offer words, but without respect, those words are stripped of meaning. What sustains a bond between two people is not the comfort of routine or the fear of being alone. It is the unspoken recognition that one admires the other, that one is proud to stand beside the other. Without that, the relationship is not love. It is survival. Men must understand this with absolute clarity. Love cannot exist without respect. And the man who accepts love without respect is not receiving love at all. He is receiving tolerance. He is receiving convenience. He is being allowed to stay, but he is not being chosen. And no man should ever be content with being tolerated in the very place where he longs to be admired. The universal lesson is simple but brutal. If she cannot respect you, she cannot love you. And if you stay in that place, you do not just lose her respect, you lose your own. Walking away is not about bitterness. It is not about revenge. It is about refusing to remain in a role that strips you of the very essence of who you are. Because the man who can walk away without regret has already won the most important battle, the battle to remain true to himself. Every man who faces this crossroads will feel the pull of fear, fear of solitude, fear of judgment, fear of regret. But regret only comes from staying where you no longer belong. Freedom comes from leaving. And the men who find that courage become something far greater than what they left behind. They become men who can no longer be broken by someone else's perception. So let this be the truth you carry forward. If respect dies, the relationship has already ended, even if the bodies remain together. Choose dignity over tolerance. Choose strength over humiliation. Choose to walk away before you lose yourself. Because in the end, the respect you hold for yourself is the foundation of every other bond you will ever build. And to those of you who walk this path with me, who search for clarity in a world clouded with illusions, if this message has struck a chord, I invite you to stand with Philosonor. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so we can continue uncovering the truths that every man must face.